Call the Clinton Utility Board meeting for June 11th to order, please. We have no individuals that want to make public comments at this time, so we'll move on down to the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
First, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna get my phone down. Next, we'll move on to vouchers, please. Is there a motion? Any questions there at all?
So moved.
So moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Move on down to the monthly reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Dusty if he make comment on the monthly reports for both the electric and the water and sewer, please.
Yeah, so electric in April 2026, the electric department reported a net margin of $110,000. That brings the year-to-date total to $2.8 million, and this exceeds our forecast by approximately $843,000. Just a quick weather update: May 2026, we saw an average temperature of 68.7 degrees, slightly above last year, but in line with the 15-year average. We saw an increase in cooling degree days, mainly towards the end of the month. So some people may not see the effects of those higher temperatures for that warm spell we had until they start seeing their June influences. So just kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. Water and sewer update. Year-to-date change in net assets remains positive at $1,214,000. And if you guys got any questions about any of that, I'd be happy to answer those.
I don't know if this is the time to ask, but quick question. I had a neighbor call me and said that their sewer bill was higher than their water bill.
Always.
Your sewer's based on your water, though. I just confused me. How would that happen?
Because water we get free from the clinch, and it's easy to run that through sewer. It's a whole different deal. You got to treat that. You got to transport that. There is no pressure behind that. You got to lift it on the pump station. You got to pay for all of that. So everyone's sewer, in terms of rate, will always be more for rate than.
No, I'm not rate. The end number.
Not sure I understand the end number.
More sewer than water.
The dollar figure was higher for sewer than it was for water, the bill.
Yes,
That's because it's got
because
high
the
rate.
rate's always higher.
Because you got treated.
But sewer's based on the amount of water you bring in.
Only the
right?
consumption. So if you have 5 gallons at $5
Gotcha.
or $1 a gallon,
Gotcha.
and this is $1.50 a gallon,
I got you.
and whatever their rate is, whatever their bill is, you can say it's more than half of what everybody else
And
is.
it's capped at their highest winter months sewer bill.
That's correct, because we try to, instead of someone calling and saying I filled my pool or I'm doing irrigation, it's a policy that catches everyone that they don't have to call in, because we are assuming that their water consumption in the summertime, if it exceeds their average, their highest in the winter, then it is because they're either watering their lawn, they're doing a lot of washing their cars, or they're working their pool, or some kind of thing like that. And it's an automatic thing.
I guess my sewer has always been lower than my water, so I was just surprised to.
It's not, look again, because
I've got it backwards, don't I?
you do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other information on the financial report?
Move to approve.
Second.
First and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Project status report, please.
Yes, I'm going to turn to Todd for the electric, and Greg, I'll ask you to address the market streetscapes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As you can see, we've got one project left here for the current fiscal year that we're concluding here over the New River Highway, this 2 ACSR feeder upgrade that we've been working on here for a few months. This project's going very well. We're over 90% complete now. We're expected to complete that easily by the end of the month and probably by the end of next week. So any questions on that?
Okay, thank you. Approval of work order. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Jones.
Oh, as you can tell, if you've been downtown, they've started on the service laterals again. They're working in front of First Baptist Church. They're still on schedule to be completed towards the end of July on the service laterals.
Any questions there?
You said end of July?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, they're
That's
working
their
hard to
schedule.
make that happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, they want Market Street open by July 4th.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to reconcile in my brain.
It's like they say, it's many miles before we sleep on that, I'm thinking.
All right, move on to approval of work orders.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the first work order for consideration for the board is work order number 1935. It's a 4-and-off aerial cable on Coconut Lane. We had this in the budget at $200,000, and it came in at $180,000 with a 10% contingency of 18. Total cost of what we think now is this work order will be $198,550, and I can put both of these work orders together in one recommendation if you like. Work order number 2 is 1940. It's also electric. It's 2 ACSR at Decoria Hills. It's an upgrade there. That was in the budget at $200,000. I'm sorry, that was in at $200,000, and with the contingency, it's $213. It was at $250, was it not?
It was 225.
$225, yeah, $225. Both of them are in under what we budgeted, and it's $213,675. And I recommend the board approve both of those work orders.
Any questions on those work orders?
It's good that they're under budget.
Motion approved.
Yours
So
right
moved.
now is for water.
Second. All right.
And that's why your sewer's capped.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
If it's less, it's because it's capped on what the
Okay,
limit was.
that's okay, thank you.
Move on to the property casualty insurance, please.
Yes, we've got a quote for property casualty, and Dusty, I don't know if you do the percentage. It was 2.1 was what I did.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yes.
So why don't you share with them what you have done on the insurance and the recommendation going forward?
Yeah, so we work with TV PPA, DIC Insurance Company. They always do a great job for us. So you can see this year we're looking at an increase of about $15,000, about 2.1%, as Greg mentioned. It's up from last year, so $705,000 total, up from $690,000 last year. It's pretty much everything's the same as far as the removal goes. We're very happy that we're only seeing a 2.2% increase, especially as you get a year or two away from disasters like Helene and things of that nature. A lot of times we see those things go up more, so we're very happy with 2.2%.
As you can see, part of that reason is workers' comp. That actually decreased, and that's because of the experience modification associated with that.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9, approval of resolution requesting unclaimed balance of AR of accounts remitted to the state.
Unlike many utilities, we try to track all of this down, and it is not much money. But what the state does is they hold this money and look for anyone that has identified that. And after so many years, we're able to reclaim that, bring it back to us. And still, if it's ever claimed, you'll have to pay the individual. But normally that never happens. So we went through this process and came up with a remittance amount of $7,357.28. And what we need from this board is a resolution for us to go back to the state and claim that back, that $7,000 back. And I recommend the board consider that resolution.
Questions regarding the resolution?
I move to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move on to the approval of the audit contract.
Annually, Dusty works with our auditors because the state requires a contract Dusty, why don't you share with the board your experience with Brown, Jake, and McDaniel?
Yeah, so CUB has worked with Brown Jake for a long time. I've actually got some previous experience with them at another utility that I worked at. They always do a fantastic job for us. They're thorough, but they're also fair and easy to work with, and we've got a great working relationship with them. And so this year, they gave us a proposal. It's about a 4.2% increase this year for the audit. Now, what we do sometimes is we ask them if they would be agreeable to a 3-year agreement, giving us a lower rate if we go ahead and commit to 3 years, which is what they did. So this first year, we're looking at about a 4.2% increase overall. The next 2 years, if we commit to 3 years, it's going to be about a 3% increase. So it's up to you guys. The one thing we need to do is approve an annual contract this year, so that we can have that signed into the state by June 30th.
Under any scenario, it's 4.2%, which is reasonable. We think it's reasonable for this next year. If we wanted to extend the contract, it would be 3.5% for year 2 and year 3.
Yes.
That's the way I understand it too.
So I was gonna ask about the 4.2. Is that typical? I know you said you think it's reasonable, but is that?
With what we've seen in increased cost over the past couple of years, yeah, I think that's very reasonable.
Okay.
They're coming from a low rate, and we are convinced of that, because of what everyone else is paying for that. So that's essentially their cost of living to do that, and I tried to come up with reasons that it's good to stay. It's not good just to change them out year by year or every 2 years or every 5 years periodically, unless there's an issue. If you lost confidence in what they provide, if their level of expertise is diminished, if there are any problems at all, then you need to look somewhere else. If they haven't done that, then a reason would be to do an RFP just to make sure that you're getting a competitive rate, and that's I don't think that's unreasonable, but low rate isn't the deciding factor on these professional services, because you want somebody that knows what they're doing. So you weight those RFPs with experience, with what team are they going to have on here, and what do they know about, TVA contracts, the contract that we have, and you got FASB, you got GASB, all of that is unique to, as we talked about, even in the budget, you saw a whole lot of stuff, and there are firms that do municipal utilities but because of the relationship we have with them and the working papers that we do and the confidence that they have in what we do, I think we get a really good rate. If we went out for an RFP, it would have to be for 3 years because nobody would want to take it for a year. We're very satisfied with these. We have got to have a certified audit. They are one of the auditors that do most of the municipal utilities in our area, and we're comfortable that they have a very competitive rate. But if the board looks to do something else, then I would go out and do an RFP to some other firms, and then we would weight them depending on their experience and who they have out, and then look at the rate as probably the least of the factors associated with that. However, I believe Brown, Jake, McDaniel would certainly excel in being competitive.
What's the thoughts of the board? Questions, comments? Preference on a 1 year versus 3 year?
Yeah, is there any, I know you got 1.2, 0.7%, right? 3.5, if you renew it, do them.
3.5, but they're going to hit us.
Right.
They're going to hit us for 4.2, no matter what.
Correct. I'm talking about like year 2 and year 3.
Year 2 and 3 is 3.5, which we think is
0.7 savings.
a decent savings.
They don't have any pending retirements or anything that might
No.
impact their
Although Joe, I think he's going to live forever. You know, I mean, it looks the same.
Okay. I mean, I'm kind of leaning toward 3 year, just to save that 1.4% in year 2 and year 3.
I would second that.
So motion? Sure. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move on to budget.
There is a change in the budget, and I sent you an email on that. And it's because we, in, I think it was January 2023, the board allowed us to engage into a class action suit on these forever chemicals that they put out there. And I'm telling you, I love to take credit for everything, but I can't for this because Greg Jones has just dogged this thing to death, found it out, scoped it out, put all the necessary documentation together to make this thing happen. And he planted this thing back in 2023. And now we're $105,723.35 richer for that, which is important in the water and sewer department. It is absolutely a material positive thing. And he tells me that it's his hope that this isn't the end of the rainbow on some of this when some of these other settlements come in with some of these other big companies that affect our service area that we service. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm very appreciative of the hard work that Greg has done on that. But it has changed from what I showed you last month, and we've now incorporated that into the financial statements to reflect that positive change. But other than that, there is no other changes at all. So I know you've had time to review some of this, and some of it is pretty standard. But if you have any questions on that, I'll be glad to go to answer that, or I'll go through in as much detail as we can as you can stand. If you want me to go back and review this thing, I'll be glad to do that too.
Personally, acknowledge Mr. Jones' work on and persistence on that. It sounds like it's been going on 3 or 4 years. So appreciate your efforts of bird dogging that and continue to do that. Obviously, the water and sewer department's benefiting from that.
No
So
doubt.
the cut ratepayers. So we thank you for that work. Questions regarding budgets?
I just have a general question on the charts in the packet. I was just flipping through them and where the money comes from. The first pie chart.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious the difference between small generation power and large generation power. Is that industrial customers that?
It gets to KW. 50 KW
Okay.
is small.
But
Anything
you combine
above-
those together kind of for industrial versus
That's
residential?
right. Because there is no residential that we identify with a KW.
Gotcha.
It's always KWH,
Thank you.
which is a great segue into making a distinction between residential and large commercial and industrial, because that's a point that I'm going to make when we get into water and sewer as we do rates. How much do we have in residential, and what kind of capacity do they take, and how much are we relying on large industry, and how much capacity do they demand, and then is there a disparity in that rate? So you've identified what is going to be in the months coming, the very issue that I'm going to bring to the board about a disparity, I think, between the residential, large commercial, and industrial, and the demands that it has on our capacity, and what that means in terms of going forward in expansion and the debt service we're going to need in order to do that expansion. Who should bear the greater burden on that?
And I'll follow up a question with that because that triggered my. Would that the study that y'all are going to do, would that incorporate the fixing things like the lady that came on that side of town? It's an old infrastructure. Does it incorporate kind of fixing that? And then the follow up question, so you'll know, fire hydrants. At one time I mentioned some fire hydrants don't necessarily have great. Can all those two things be incorporated in that study?
Yeah, no, that not specifically. I've been working and Greg has been, and I've asked him, part of what we're doing is a 5 year look ahead, and I've identified what could easily be cost to us. What would you think, Greg? I mean, it's 15 million for the wastewater treatment plant by itself. You know, when we're going to have to upgrade that, so we could literally be looking at 35 million dollars in capital improvements over the next 5 years. But we'll be looking for grants on a lot of that. You know, but if we had, say, a third, we'd have to come up with a third 10 million, and we did 10 million at, say, 4% or 3%. That's 510 to 540,000 a year that we would have to pay to service that debt. All of that makes a difference to the balancing of the system. You say the wastewater treatment plant, that's a big hit. The water plant, another big hit. What is on Meadowbrook and coming down through there, we budgeted that at about 1.5 million. It came in at 3 point some million to do that. That is on the list and will be part of the global renovation of replacing the oldest infrastructure that we have. We just went through downtown. That was 1.3 million. No borrowing money on that, and we're still in great shape in reserves at 4 some million. And even though we've got now a significant capital projects going on for this next fiscal year, we believe that we're going to be fine after we get through with that. But we won't last the year, because I'm working on it now, for a comprehensive review of the capacity needs and how it impacts rates and what rates are impacted. We've got our largest customer in water and sewer. If they paid what Knoxville charges, or the average of the group around us, because it's as much as 70 million gallons a year, that rate difference between what we charge and what Knoxville charges is so significant, it would cover one customer about half of the required debt service for that $10 million over 30 years. So I mean, if you look at what that looks like, I mean, for the average large commercial customer, I've got charts, and then of course this is what I'll eventually get to show you, showing that where we are in terms of all of the utilities that we rack up against, we're half again less than what they charge for these large commercial customers. I showed you residential, the average residential, but I've got it for commercial at 100,000 a month and 3 million a month for these large industries. So that's the thing that I'm going to try to get some parity on in comparison with other utilities. And over time, I see a tiered rate going up to address, because 90% of our customers are residential. 10% take over 50% of the capacity. So that's what I'm going to try to make all happen, to come together and make some good sense, and then recommend over time, not to I guess have a rate that is more equitable. We've got the 5-star rate for residential. Nobody can touch us on that. And at the end of this study, nobody's going to be able to touch us on that. But I think that we're going to have to look at some of these, maybe 2 rates, 1 rate for residential and then 1 rate for commercial and industrial, which is what many people are going to. So that's my deal on that. Give us the 5-year plan. What can we expect we're going to have to improve, and then how are we going to pay for it?
Fire hydrants.
Fire hydrants are in that because you've got to have a 6-inch main, you know, and you've got to have the pressure to do that. Some of these things, and aren't there some on a 4-inch?
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
know,
correct.
and that volumetrically, you can't make that happen. You see, so if we change that out to a 6-inch or better, an 8, you know, then you'll get the volume you need. The the, the pressure will always be a challenge because of where our reservoirs are,
Yeah.
how high they are, and what you got to do to make that happen. So
But that's going into your thought process.
absolutely,
Okay.
all of
Thank
that, all of that.
Greg?
Rob, the downtown project is most likely going to help the fire hydrants out as well,
Okay.
because we've increased the volume of the pipe, which connects to the system, the side parts of the system. So whenever the fire department goes out and retest fire hydrants, we should have a better numbers.
And I know it's a
On that.
long-term thing. I know it's not flip, but as we fix things, it's just kind of something. Because I didn't realize the colors of the fire hydrant meant something until I did some
Yeah.
research, and not all fire hydrants are created equal.
Yeah.
But it depends on the pipe and all that. So thank you.
And why some of them have a lock on
We can crush them, right?
well, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Did you start
When
saying
they put those steamers on there, you know, that's why you can only, the size makes a difference in what you can put on there.
Again, just as we fix things and do things like this, let's just think about it long term. How
I think you're 100% correct, and that is really what we want to do is because everything that is now going on 90 years old, we need to replace. And what we're going to replace, we're not going to replace with what's going to be sufficient today. We're going to replace what we consider in the long-term future is going to be good. At least we're convinced that downtown, which was one of our oldest, you know, is now going to be as up to snuff as we know how to get it.
Mr. Matt, do you have a question?
Yeah, not to change the subject, but just back on those charts, I thought it was interesting on the where the money went chart. I think it's great we keep our rates as low as we do, especially compared to the other utilities around us. It's not surprising to me that almost 3/4 of our costs for power goes to TVA.
Oh, yeah.
Because their rates are pretty high, but I just wonder if you foresee that reducing with some of what Trump and the current administration are trying to impose.
No, it won't reduce. It'll go up. It'll go up. What distinguishes us and our ability to keep the rate structure is, and in time, a lot of this is going to come back to the general fund. But when we got $8 million in capital projects forecast, and we haven't borrowed money since we built this operations center. You know, when the chair-elect of the TVA board was in yesterday, I did PowerPoint. And I'm known for that, and it was great. And he loved it. I'm telling you, I can't. And in the other business, I'll tell you about some of that. But one of the things they asked about is debt. Where are you in debt? And we're $5 million in electric and zero in water and sewer. And he said that is unheard of. Unheard of. So why are we able to do these things in Flizzer with only $5 million in debt? And that's because of the savings that we have. We're at almost $15 million since 2011, just in the DVR virtual power plant alone. All of that has gone back into our earnings, and those earnings are used for the capital improvements that we have. But sooner or later, we're going to, there's only so much aerial cable we can put out there, you see, and there's only so much improvement that we can do. And sooner or later, there's going to be some leveling off about the return on the savings and the capital outlay going out, and that's going to build reserves. If we held off, our money would go up substantially right now. But we constantly reinvest that into maintaining the system, which we have over 5 nines in reliability. One of the things that I showed him is the indices for safety and safety. How long are you off? How often are you off? And we're better than 50%, over 50% better than every utility in the valley on those indices. And I gave him a copy of that too, so he could take that. And that TVA is the one that comes up with those indices, statistics, and we're over 50% better than that because we reinvested back in the system in order to make all of this happen. You know, but sooner or later, we're going to start saying, well, instead of spending all of that money for this, now that'll help build some reserve.
Yeah, I was more so asking about the TVA cost, and I may have asked my question wrong, but I'm hoping as a consumer and a ratepayer that some of what the current administration is doing to try to control TVA.
Well, I talked to him about that. Todd and I did. Their emphasis on the SMRs, and I'm all over nuclear. I love nuclear, and I love the concept of SMR. I just don't like the ratepayers paying for that.
Right.
Especially if the administration's a push on that, which they are, then let's have federal grant money associated with that. Because what you can build an SMR for, you can do 10 times more than megawatts in gas. So why would you put that money in an SMR, small modular reactor, and not into gas in order to get the margin that you need, so you don't have to go off the footprint in order to get the KW that you need to service, and that's what they're doing. What we did in Winter Storm Elliott, we provided and delivered 30 megawatts to TVA for their grid. An SMR is about 300 megawatts. We gave them, in Winter Storm Elliott, ourselves 10% of what an SMR would provide for them. And we're only, yesterday, the TVA had a call out because of the heat. And every utility that could provide a demand response provided a demand response to help lower their peak because they've got to pay 20 times what they charge us off site. And I told this to the chair-elect, who was really nice. What do you think the number of utilities responded to that call from TVA? Of the 153, only 6. Oh, there's only 6 of the 153 that could do anything about that. And obviously we were not only one of them, we were the first ones to do that, and we're the biggest contribution in order to make that happen. All of that makes a difference into their operational cost. They'll save money because and I talked to them about what they're paying their CEO. They're making some gain on that.
So let's go back, kind of get back on 2027 budget, because you've already cut into your other business already.
Yeah.
Any more questions on the budget? Is there a recommendation to approve?
I recommend we approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The other part of the budget process is, as we know this year, at the end of this year, we typically discuss the general manager's compensation as well. Obviously, we made an adjustment this year to his salary based on market conditions, recognizing that his compensation had been for several years, below the market for a person with his experience, longevity, performance, etc. Obviously, baked into that is the 3% COLA adjustment that typically all the other employees get. Question is, does the board want to consider any type of merit increase that represents the performance as opposed to the market adjustment that the general manager got earlier? I have, just so you know as well, I did talk to the general manager earlier over the last couple of months as well. I think he recognizes that he is foregoing some money as well, because we still have other funds out there that we, theoretically for a person in his role, CBIZ showed us that there was some other compensation that could have been provided for a person in that set. And so general manager is not asking for those right now at all. I think, which is which is fair to him, fair to us, fair to the ratepayers as well. But wanted to ask the question about merit and if there should be a merit adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, it's been customary each year for what, 2%? Is that,
It's been a range.
so I guess the question on the table is, given the market adjustment, do we move forward with a 2%?
I think that's the question before the committee, the board.
Any thoughts?
I can differentiate market adjustments from merit increases. That doesn't, I think those happen all the time. We have those, matter of fact, we do those at work all the time. I'm supportive. And I would put that in the form of a motion, if that is warranted or others feel like we want to do that. But maybe I need to do is put it in the form of a motion and let us debate it and figure out, or if it votes up or down or whatever. So, but I'll make a motion that we put a 2% merit increase as well. General Manager.
Yeah, I would second it just because that's our only way we recognize performance today. The market adjustment wasn't about performance. This 2%, in my mind, is about performance.
Correct.
So,
Just want to ask you a clarifying
Sure.
question, just on procedural things. This is just procedural, and
Okay.
I'm asking this to learn. On city council, the mayor is the moderator. He cannot make a motion or second a motion. He can vote.
Correct.
And I'm assuming that's different on the CUB.
That is my understanding as well,
That's
based on
I just
My
want to know
understanding
for
as well.
procedurals.
but more just to move the discussion along than to,
I understand.
so we don't sit here in a quiet state all night either. So either we can
I
kind
was just asking for.
no, and I appreciate that because I've had that same conversation. Is that something I could or could not do? And we've done that in the past.
Okay.
From the
Thank you.
chair's roles.
so refresh my memory. We went back, we did the market adjustment, and then we did the market adjustment retroactive to last year, right? The beginning of the year, like in July. Because when we
Correct.
did all this, we
Yep.
did it like September, October.
Right. We did late in the year.
And that increase brought the pay up to 440 something,
Right.
442,
in
440.
that range, yes, sir. About
Okay.
approximately.
And that was an increase of, and our goal at the time, I think what we thought about was getting close to the 75th percentile, or we were under the 75th.
Correct.
So we got over the 75th a little bit
On the
with
base,
that.
on the base salary.
On the pay.
On the base salary, correct.
We were still deficient based on benefits, was that correct?
The additional compensation that an CEO executive would get, yes, sir.
But then there were some questions, and even I think the guy on the call, if there's something that, the way things are counted on,
Yeah.
there's
There's questions.
There's question. I mean, again, not that.
Right.
Okay. So, based on the survey, 75th percentile was what figure? Am I?
Total cash was 424,000.
That's that number right there.
That was base salary plus bonus. Total cash compensation.
Total cash compensation,
Okay.
base salary plus
You
annual
have it in
incentive.
front of you, so I didn't.
That's it.
I did not bring it.
That's
See,
that number.
That's good. Thank you.
And we are at the we were at the 440. I thought I wrote a note on here.
We're just now at 450 with the 3% raise.
I thought there was another.
The two other buckets are benefits.
There you go. Okay.
And then the other bucket is prerequisites / other reportable compensation. And what I recall him saying was it's really hard to compare an apple to an apple with the benefits because of how much a copay is, how much the premiums paid by the employer.
Yeah, I think that's why they kind of look at base salary and they look at total comp, so that kind of gives you a ballpark.
Yep.
But if I'm not mistaken, I do, and I apologize, I do not have those right in front of me. If I recall correctly, we got the base salary to the 75th percentile, but yet The
Base
total
salary plus incentive.
plus incentive, and then we had the total comp was still somewhat short of that number, and for some reason 30,000 stuck in my head ballpark. I'm not saying it could have been 25, it could have been 35, but that's the number stuck in my head. And Greg, I don't know if that's is that about right?
If it helps anyway, as you're thinking all of that, I think there was a 2-year lag between.
Yeah, the data was behind. So
That's right.
so.
I think Jim was.
Yeah, he's calculating, he's ciphering over here.
So, well, I didn't do that right. But hang on. So y'all gonna talk if you want to talk. 442 times 0.03 plus 442. So we're roughly at the 455, 260 mark with the 3%.
And then and I think it just comes down to and there's a couple ways you can handle it. One is, you have to make a decision on do you feel like a merit increase is warranted? That's kind of the first kicker and make a first decision. And then the second is how do you build that into base, etc. So.
Yeah, so if we did the 2%, it would be on the 442. Correct.
Yeah, it would all be you'd load it up, so you'd have a total of 5 that would roll in at that point. Correct.
Yeah,
So it's about $8,000 roughly.
It's just under 9. Yeah.
So. More questions, comments?
I guess mine, I don't know if Jim was finished or not, but I think the staff does a wonderful job. And I think they're wonderfully paid at 450. And again, you're moving two numbers because Todd's, and again, this is all uncomfortable to speak about in front of people.
That's the
and I
nature of it. I
apologize
get
for
it.
that.
No, I get it.
But I think the staff does a wonderful job. Wonderful job. I'll say it again, wonderful job. But I think they're wonderfully compensated at 450 plus bennies, plus 401k match, plus pension. In my world, that's all I can compare it to. There's not a separate cost of living plus a merit. It's one number. And then, but I'm on bonus. But bonus is money at risk. It's a total pie. Bonus is not extra. It's part of the pie. You want more base salary and lower bonus because it's guaranteed. We've increased the guaranteed money to 450. So that would be my comments. And it may change, but I guess the CEO of TVA now is making 500. So
They did not go out and get a market study for that one. I can tell you that.
Well, it may cause downward market pressure. I don't know.
Maybe a
May cause
correction. I
retirement.
don't know.
Who knows?
I guess that's my thoughts. They do a
Okay.
great job
Sure.
and they're greatly paid.
And I would echo that, and I just think that as I sit here, I also am representing the ratepayers.
Correct.
And I'm not against the 3% at all, but I think within the last 12 months, this board has given pretty significant. Now, previous boards that I have been on and off and on and off and on and off at various
back.
times.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
I mean, a couple of times I was on during the time, a few times I wasn't on during the time. But I just think that over the last 12 months or less than 12 months, well, no, 12 months because it was retroactive. And I voted for that. I voted for that because I felt like it was being, if we're going to have the study, then we need to do what the study told us to do. And I think we did what the study asked us to do. And then I think we built in a little extra because I remember us talking about the bonus piece because, I don't know how to write goals and objectives for a general manager. I can tell you how to do it for a pharmacist. But I thought my pretense was if we're going to fatten it up a little bit, let's fatten it up on the base because we don't know. You're healthcare. And Stephen, in his line of work, maybe could help manufacture some goals and objectives. And Rob, you're in healthcare, so I just feel like that again, CUB has a great product, and I'm a fan. And I think if you look at these rates and these pay scales that's in here, I think that they do very well. But again, you get what you get paid for. If you're buying a refrigerator, you get what you pay for. And I think that we compensate very well. I think our the benefit package is above average for the ratepayer. If we're looking at a ratepayer, there's probably not very many ratepayers have a fully funded pension and a matching 401k and a quality health program. I think I'm right when I speak about all that. But I mean, I just the health program itself and the Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan. I mean, used to people come and say, "I want a good insurance." Well, they ain't no such thing anymore. But I do think CUB has an above average product there.
Yeah, so I want to be clear. I'm not advocating one way or the other, but I think we're crossing the streams a little bit. There's two ways to kind of approach, what we have done and what we're talking about possibly doing right now. One is just from a financial standpoint. It's easy to mix, that market adjustment with what now we're talking about is performance.
Right.
And so I think, if we don't move forward with a 2%, we need to put a plan together that addresses performance. Otherwise, there's no incentive for overperforming, if that makes sense.
Well,
that market adjustment was like more of a retroactive, in my mind, more of a retroactive thing. And I completely agree from a ratepayer standpoint and the optics of it, everything else. But they are separate. But we have to mix them because of the budget process. So,
and I'm not opposed to. I mean, I think the whole rate or the whole salary study. Lord, we talked about that forever. I mean, forever.
And we left it alone for a while.
And we
too,
left it alone forever.
Fortunately.
And so, I mean, I'm even of the opinion. I may have spoken. If I didn't, I spoke it to myself in my mind. We need to do something like that every 2 to 3 years to stay, because we don't need to get behind the 8 ball,
Correct.
and we don't need to let emotions get involved
That's
with
exactly
this.
right.
And if we can come up with some sort of fair, reasonable objectives and goals, and I'm for that. And sooner the better, because if we kick that can down the road 2 or 3 years, then I'll be danged if we ain't gonna be back here again. I mean,
Correct.
I feel like we're in this window, and this window's moving. Now, there are times we were way down here, but we need to stay in the window.
That's right. You stay in the range.
And
Yeah, I mean, we've talked, I think if anybody's been in different HR role or been around HR work, you end up with, 2 or 3 things. You have eventually what's called pay compression, where the crate's not moving, to your point, and somebody begins to bump up against them. And then what happens is you have what's called redlining, where you end up having to hold people's salary, or you just blow the red line and just keep allowing people to have increases, even though the market range is this range, and they keep going over it. So you have to move the market range, or you just have to say, hey, I'm not going to pay anybody above the range anymore. And they typically, particularly people with long tenure, they will sometimes bonus those people out the money. Don't put it to the base, just bonus them out. I think to your point, yeah, we've talked about, hey, let's get this back to where we got that every couple of year review. And I think, as a matter of fact, we've got it in minutes where we're going to do that on a periodic basis. So we will do that. I think, to Steven's point about performance, I mean, the way at a high level, because you're right, none of us, maybe Steven, maybe closer, but none of us are really electrical, quote, people, meaning this is what we do day in, day out. We're on the board at the pleasure of the mayor. But I think, what you can look, to me, the easy things to look at are budget. How do we perform? Do we have major issues? If you look at the outage data that suggests, do we have more outages than others, and how long are those outages down? I think there are some things that you can look at and go from the ratepayer perspective, are we delivering a good service? And then you look at pricing. We know that our rates, as Greg has told us, probably every 2 or 3 months, that we have low rates compared to everybody else. And I think in our debt structure is great. And so for me, those are the kind of the key signs of a good business and how it's running. So if you're asking, hey, okay, so next year, let's make sure we got the performance criteria going into the 2027 fiscal year. Okay, Greg and I can work on that and bring that back early in the year to get, sign off. We are we were relying kind of on some of the data that was in the budget packet today on, performance for the past year. And the question is, if we want to do that or not. And so, I mean, I'm happy for us to continue the discussion. And if we just need to, hey, let's just call votes, we can all get moving for the evening. Fine with doing that too. So,
I just feel like we've made some good adjustments in the last 9 months, a year, whatever you want to say. Warranted, but yet from a business standpoint and from a ratepayer standpoint, I think personally,
Okay.
are we where we want to be? Are we where we need to be? Why were we not there? We can debate that for hours.
yeah, sure.
But the point is, we're closer this year than we have been in a number of years. Now, are we right on the mark? Probably not. But are we in the infield? We are in the infield. We used to be in the stands,
That's correct.
sitting in the car, probably in the parking lot, if you
Right.
wanted that analogy. We're in the infield. We're in the dirt. Now, do we need to get to the pitcher's mound? Probably so. And I think that's a reasonable goal. Personally, so I would vote no on an additional 2%, not because of anything lack of performance, but it's like, okay, we've got to, on behalf of the ratepayers, we're getting there.
Okay.
And we've had a pretty substantial warranted move. I'm not,
So I think the last time we talked about, you mentioned it, trying to get down to a achievable bonus structure as an option. I mean, I sit here through this conversation and try to think, what would I think sitting in the general manager's shoes, with him just bringing us $106,000 in savings and some other stuff that he's presented over the last few months. And I think there's some recognition of performance as a board we need to do. Whether or not we need to do that tonight is debatable. But I think if we're serious about recognizing the performance, to me it's got to be more than the market adjustment and the cost of living increase. I mean that's just kind of where
let me ask you this, from the healthcare standpoint, healthcare costs have probably gone up overall, the risk of healthcare. But I don't think so you got saved 100,000, that's fine. But that all goes back in, and that's what pays those premiums and keeps that healthcare package an above average package, or a good package, above the average probably package. Those savings like that allow us to continue with those good benefits. It allows us to continue to have a fully funded pension and a matching 401k. And the utility industry, I think was told that that's not unusual. But outside these walls, that is unusual to have a fully funded pension and a matching 401k.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. But I also think, like, are we sending a message in demotivating finding that additional money by not recognizing the performance somehow? Again, we don't have to do that tonight, but I think as a board, there's a performance element to it that we have not really addressed specifically. It's been customarily addressed with this 2%.
Well,
So you mentioned the general manager's chair, but also think about the ratepayer's chair. Our job is more for the ratepayers, checks and balances. And if you're not motivated by $450,000 a year, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what $8,000 is going to do, or $10,000. And again, if you give a bonus, are you going to take some of the base salary away? It's the total package. It's not like bonus is extra.
Yeah, and that total package was like $530 or something like that.
I'm talking about when I'm talking about if you look at the top two lines, base pay plus bonus, he's above 75%. And the guy said you want more money. Base pay is worth more than bonus because it's guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
The bonus is at risk. So if you come up with a bonus plan, are you going to subtract from his base salary? I don't understand how that.
I think you have to kind of, because part of what they talked about was obviously not just the top two lines, but all four.
Yeah.
So I think that mixture of allocation, and I think David talked a little bit about it, is, hey, having a little more of a bird in the hand is great. And that's why I mentioned kind of what I did earlier. I think the general manager in the conversation in the past few weeks and even the last couple of months about all this has been, hey, he's willing to kind of forego any of that additional comp below those top two lines that we talk about. There is a total number out there that people get, and so he's going, hey, just give me a merit increase. I'm not necessarily interested right now in any of this other quote extra money. But I think what it has done, if you look at the team, the reason that the ratepayers are in the spot they're in, low rates, lowest rates probably in the area, if not the lowest rates, no debt, which we could all be servicing. We could have maybe less qualified people, I'll put it that way, in the roles that are here that may not have a clue about how to run an electric company or water sewer company. So, so I think when we look at total comp, I've done this a little bit too. Steve Prez too. Y'all have. There is a total comp number for my role. There's a total comp number for Steve's role, and so it's not just those top two lines. So here's what I would. I would be willing to amend my motion that instead of putting in base salary that we pay in bonus, such that instead of it going to the base salary, I would be willing to pay it out in a bonus to him this year, and that way it's not adding to the base salary going forward. But that still allows him to recognize the 2% merit increase, and that one I didn't even talk to him about it, but I guess he'll take what he gets. But I mean, if that's a concern, we're not adding to the base. We basically are saying, hey, this year we're saying, hey, you're capped on what we're going to pay you, but we are going to recognize the merit and we are going to pay you out in that cash in a bonus form, as opposed to adding it to the base salary. That would kind of be a compromise of my amendment that I submitted, if you would like for me
But
to.
we're already over that number. When you add the base salary and commission together, we're already above the 75th percentile.
Unless you go to the total comp.
And look at the benefits, and he said it's really hard to compare those benefits because it's apples to oranges.
Yeah, but I think, yes, and that's true. It does get murkier out there, but we do know there. I don't think that, what's the balance of that number that's out there that's different? Was it 30,000, Jimmy? What was it? So the total 75th percentile on the total.
It's like 550.
Yeah, so it went to like 550. So we're at 445 or whatever, but there's still potentially another 100. But is
that where we started? Was 379 where we started?
That's where we started as of this time.
Was that?
And now we bumped up to, Greg, where are we at on your base now?
437.
437 is now the base. So 437 plus, and you just did the math.
Well, I did on 440.
Okay, but it's close enough.
Okay, so we basically
We're at 450 right now, right? Roughly 452 or something. Like what you said?
Well, but I did the 440 or something. So we've seen almost an increase of that amount
Correct.
in 12 months.
But you also have to remember, he was short that amount of money for several
But
years too.
I agree.
So
I'm
there's
not
there's
disagreeing
an
with that.
adjustment that, yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying that, but that is a huge jump
It is a huge
in
jump.
12 months.
And
And then you've got a second salary that jumps with it.
correct.
I can't. I would have to. That's a huge number, right? Again, I'm not regretting anything we've done.
Sure. No, I hear you saying. No,
And
I
I'm not
think
being
both. I
negative.
think neither one of you are saying.
I'm not being negative on
Right.
anything we've
Correct.
done,
No,
but I
totally
just
agree.
don't think we can eat the whole pie
Okay.
in 12 months.
Yeah, and if you notice, we haven't. We've avoided the additional, that whole murky area
But
for other
that's-
comp. There's another 100 out there that's murky. And at some point you'd think that of that murkiness, let's call it $8,000 isn't murky. Now you could argue, is it 50? Is it 75? If we were in here trying to bump it another 50 or 75 and put that kind of number at risk, that's why when it starts getting like that, it's more, again, I'm happy to either amend it. I'm happy to call for the votes. We can move on. Whatever. That's not a problem. So, whatever
You're the
y'all
chairman.
just don't want to shut down the discussion, but I also recognize that people got faces probably to do it tonight.
Jim's still calculating.
Yeah, I'm letting him cipher still.
These big numbers cause me problems.
No,
No,
the figures of those.
Not fives and tens. based on my math, in 1 year, we've brought it up 70,000 with this
Correct.
3%.
Yeah.
We will have made an increase of $70,573.
Correct.
Again,
It's a big number.
I can't help history. I can't go back and undo history. But I think that is significant.
Yes. Agreed. No
I
question.
think it's warranted. But
I think he's basing off the table that they've got.
379 is what this says we started at with base compensation.
379 is where base where we started at. Sound right? Off of those numbers.
That's where I'm coming from. I'm working off that number as an original number. And then we brought him up to this,
Right.
and then you add 3%.
To this year. Correct.
That's 13. So you had that and that. Now you're at 450.
Correct.
So I took
Those are from prior years. You got to remember that in order to keep apples and apples.
Yeah, you're still 2 years behind on whatever.
So it's
CBS
not
is taking us out.
70,000 in 1 year. Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, he just calculated them out, but let
Yeah, what it is you're calculating from 2 years ago. You know, because those numbers are 2 years.
Right.
And if you then do to current, you can't say, "Oh, that came together in 1 year," because it didn't.
So 379 was your salary 2 years ago?
Yes, in order to
compare to the apples to apples for the
So
year.
what
for
they
the
are.
timing.
Because now all of those utilities there, you know, if you did another study,
70,000.
They're
in 2 years
now-
is pretty good.
two, and this will be the third year past that. So I mean, I'm convinced that would still put me over. And when you talked about being going ahead, it was ahead on that base by about $1,000, if I remember. And I'm not really prepared to even discuss that because I didn't bring any of that with me, nor have I reviewed any of that because of all the people in this room, there's nobody more sick of hearing about this than I am.
So we have a motion second. Do we have another approach we want to take before I?
I mean, I would be supportive of some sort of performance recognition for this past year. Now, whether we need to table that to next month's meeting, so we've got time to think about it.
And we can get the data back in front of us. Do you guys want to table, or do you think it's going to change from y'all's lens?
I mean, I'll never say never. I mean,
But we can pull the data back in
Say
and just
never.
defer it for a month and then come back in if everybody wants to have their data. I'm fine with either withdrawing the motion or deferring the motion, whichever. So if that helps give some more insight. But also, I mean, the other thing is, if we are where we are, I don't want to. There's no reason to delay. You know, if it's not going to change, then I think the other thing is you go ahead and just roll it like it is. And but
if I'm not saying something accurately and correctly, I don't mind to listen. But
Okay.
again, when I look at the numbers, I don't know that that's, again, from a ratepayer standpoint and representing the ratepayers, I think we're getting closer.
But I think what clouds us is the number is large from most of the people that live around here. But we have to remember that the person that sits in that chair is not a normal person. When they're compared to their peers, it's a different ballgame, right? Even though those numbers are a little bit large for most of us to stomach, there's still the separation of what he should have been paid for years and wasn't getting paid, and that's where that adjustment came in. And then there's the board's option to recognize excellent performance. And to me, those are separate things fundamentally. I don't disagree about the ratepayer's perspective and everything else, but I mean, we don't have a time machine. We're not going to fix that, and it's going to always be an issue, no matter if that number is 300,000 or 500,000. It's a bigger number than what most of us are used to. And so I want to be very binary in what I'm looking at, right? I don't want to conflate too much because, again, you know, I've only been on the board for 3 years, and I think every June it's been a contentious, I would say, sort of discussion. We have the data. We made recommendations based on what was owed, and Now I think what's before us is more about this option to recognize the performance. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
And to me, it's also done it without trying to get to the full total comp number. Because I think we've all recognized, and Robbie said it very well. There's value in getting more base and not having as much at risk. There is a value in that, and David Curley mentioned that. Gosh, when we went through this the last few months.
Well,
So there-
maybe we do wait till David is here and
And
let him
yeah,
have a full board and talk about it. And
Yeah.
you know, my thought process with this number was 424, and we think we went to 437, and so we built in a little buffer there, maybe for
Yeah.
some unearned years of unfairness, or a little bonus, or we don't have a bonus. So here's, you know, we wanted to get to the 75th, and we got to the 75th, and we exceeded it a little bit. So
How about to your point? How about let's do this? Why don't I withdraw my motion? Okay. Let's do a couple things. One, we'll get all the data back in front of us. Well, David will be here hopefully next month, but we'll all have to be here together. And the second piece is, if the board is okay with this, won't you let me sit down and talk to CBiz about the performance criteria and see if they can help us a little bit, or maybe TV. Maybe we'll bring back something for going into next year.
and then
And then we can talk about that too at the same time. So we've got it set up front. I mean, obviously, budget's going to be one of those. There's going to be certain things that are going to be out there. Budget, operational performance, quality and safety. You're probably going to be. There's going to be certain key factors in there. And I think no matter what business you're in, there's going to be certain things that are just standard. We're all going to look at.
correct.
We don't want work. We don't want last time work injuries. We want good, reliable power. We want a budget that's hit. And I think, why don't you let us, and we'll bring some draft back of that next month as well. And then we can also finish out this discussion. And at the same time, we can look at having some kind of potential criteria for how to address the merit side of this going into the 2027 fiscal
From
year.
now till eternity.
Yeah.
And we
And I
can
think,
get
yeah.
something on paper, and
Okay.
here's what it is. And I mean, I've been in these June meetings, and they suck
yeah, I know.
because, again, it's the dynamics. It's not that
When
you're
you're talking about in front of people,
you're
it's hard.
talking about it, and I mean that's the choice, and that's the way it is, and I can't
Yeah.
help it, and it's the nature of the business. But I'm not ungrateful as a ratepayer. I'm not ungrateful as. I mean, I think the city of Clinton, from the utility standpoint, trash pickup, garbage collection, brush pickup, schools, fire, water, sewer, police. I think anybody can beat us.
How about this? I will draw my motion. I'll bring that. That's okay. I will. We'll get a hold of CBiz and see what some suggestions they have. Work with the general manager. May also check for some other options we have to get some potential how to factor in the merit side of this, and then bring something back for discussion. Plus, we'll have the data, all this data together from there, and then we'll bring that back.
And I'm going to make one more statement as a disclaimer. If I have said anything that's not accurate and true, I apologize. I'll figure it out with some help eventually. But again, that's not my intent.
No, and I don't. I didn't.
I know.
We're
and I
running
didn't mean-
numbers. We're running the
I know,
numbers on the back of the envelope.
but
here.
it's
I get
but
it.
it's
So,
awkward and very.
it is.
And so,
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody good with that approach?
yes.
General manager, you okay with that?
Let me just to clarify, the issue then is what we're in abeyance on is the 2%, not the 3%. Is that correct?
That's correct. 3%'s in. Correct. It's in the budget.
And I want you to know, I don't hold any animosity at all, Jim.
Oh, I know you don't.
You, God, I go to the mat for you on that, and there's no, there's a lot of money. And anybody that says that I shouldn't be happy with what I'm making is, they're an idiot. Because I am. It's the message saying that you're more than what a COLA is. You see.
Well, and I think you work for a board that doesn't nitpick you.
No,
We
I
never
don't-
we never touch you. We never come to you.
all of
And-
that's there's a
and
plus
I-
and
I
minus.
think that-
I might. You don't. If I do it outside the meeting.
But my point, we don't. I don't think I've never micromanaged, never tried to micro. And I think the message may be, yeah, money does speak, but also the message in everyday living is
Absolutely.
that we don't throw. I don't know if anybody ever throws Greg Fay under the bus
Well,
because I mean from this board.
right.
from this board because we do. We know you know your stuff. I mean,
the thing is,
and I want you to know
because it's not like you're just I'm a greedy little thing, and I've never gave myself a raise for all the years I've been here. It's always been the board saying, yeah, it makes good sense. I want it all to make good sense to you, and if there is the calculations that can get clarified, that'll be an easy thing to do.
We can,
You know,
and we can work on that and bring it back. We'll work on a kind of some kind of formula for merit increase, just so it's more hardwired and auto in whatever that's going to look like. So we'll do that and bring that back.
put it in the dadgum bylaws so that we can't.
So.
no matter what, there will be no bad feelings. There's
Oh,
no,
I know.
I mean, I'm just.
And
This is $10.50 more an hour is what we're talking about. And we're at $100+ million a year, and it's more of a principle thing than it is a monetary thing.
Okay. All right. Anything else in discussion on this? All right, Mr. General Manager of the business.
Yes. All right. I can't overstate the value of the meeting that we had yesterday with Jeff Haygood. He is the incoming chair of TVA board. Todd and I met with him, and we were really encouraged with his command of the facts and his clear commitment to strengthening and advancing what we call the public power model in the valley. We very impressed with all of that. The biggest interest that he had is elevating the technology capacities and the capabilities of the local power companies. He likes what we do. He wants to use us as a model and use that then in order to elevate the technology capabilities of all of the LDCs, the 153 in the valley. And I talked to you about delivering the 30 megawatts, which is about 10% of what a small modular reactor can do. We did that, and about the fact that we're 53% above the average of the duration of both the SAIDI and the SAFE indices, which is duration and frequency. He expressed a strong desire to showcase and replicate this level of performance across the valley, and that sends a great signal to us. We look forward to working with him on that. Most importantly, I think we've got his attention, we've got his support, and we got his cell phone number. So I mean, all of that's working really
When
good.
does he actually start as chairman?
I think their next meeting,
Oh, okay.
you know,
And they usually meet quarterly.
quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a lot.
Yeah, it sounded like it was a good meeting yesterday. I was going to try to be here, but I had a conflict. I could not make it. Supposed to be out of
He
town.
sends his best to you.
Yeah, and I talked to him a couple months ago. I think I told you all about that, and he and talked to him about the experience out here and the work that had been done long term, and kind of the uniqueness of the services that this place provides and what the management team's done. And so he seemed very interested, and I'm glad he came out. And obviously, he must have at least remembered something, or somebody got him on the list to get him out here, and I really appreciate him coming and particularly having the chair of TVA come out within the first, and he's not even elected yet.
He was in the president's office last week, he said.
So that's a big deal for the community and for utility here. So thank you for hosting him and for the conversation you had with him. So, any other business need to come before the board tonight? All right, we're adjourned.